Hello, everybody. My name is Eric Marsden. I work for the SAFRA Call Secretariat. Just before we get into the meeting, I think one of the points on the agenda was to allow people to present project pitches, if they had any, to start thinking about project ideas and show and find potential partners. I'm not sure any of you have registered in this sense so far, but if any of you want to do this, could you please raise your hand in Teams so that we know to reserve a bit of time at the end of this segment? So I see there is. Was there one hand raised? No, I see no hands raised. Okay, so we might not take the full hour slot of this meeting, but
it will be possible to ask questions and maybe to engage a discussion. So it is very informal, this presentation. So at the end, if there are any idea, any question, any wish to present some preliminary idea coming from the discussion, from the presentation, feel free at that time to do so.
Yeah, and during the symposium, which we will organize next month in Rome, there will be a slot dedicated to allow you to present project ideas. So here's the agenda for our short meeting this afternoon. I will present briefly the topics, the timeline, and the funding organizations participating in this call, and then we'll move on to the Q&A if you have any questions that we will attempt to answer concerning the call and its preparation. Most of you are probably familiar with SAFRA. It's a partnership between 16 research funding organizations, for example, ministries, institutes, or program owners from 12 European countries. We collaborate on research programming and we launch joint calls for research funding in the field of industrial safety. We were funded as an ERANET by the Commission for 3 years from 2012 to 2015, and we are now working as a partnership self-funded by all the contributing funding organizations in an fairly informal way. The topic of our 2022 joint call is industrial safety implications of platform work, of the Green Deal, and of advanced materials for energy storage. So as you can see from the title, there are actually 3 topics in this call. One is industrial safety in the context of the sustainability imperative. The second is the safety of advanced materials, in particular nanomaterials and composites in energy conversion and storage applications. And the third topic is evolving workplaces and safety in the platform economy. The budget available is around 1.8 million euros. Some of this is in cash. Ministries, for example, that can fund universities or researchers. And some of it is in-kind funding. That means funding which is available from institutes for researchers from their own organizations. And I'll come back to this topic a little bit later on. So very briefly, the 3 topics. The first one concerns the sustainability imperative. So we anticipate, of course, in the context of in the EU of the Green Deal, quite a lot of changes to industrial activity over the next 15 years due to the move to renewable energy sources, in particular due to recent events, also due to political problems and the war in Ukraine. The tolerance of intermittent electricity supply, the development of power-to-X mechanisms for storing excess capacity from renewables to be able to use them at other times. Improvements to energy efficiency of industrial processes, for example, and all sorts of transport infrastructures. The use of new energy carriers, such as hydrogen, but also e-fuels. The sequestration of CO2 and the reduction of waste. And these changes we expect will affect, of course, onshore and offshore industrial equipment, but also transport infrastructures as well as energy distribution infrastructures. These will lead to, we anticipate challenges to the safety of these socio-technical systems. So one anticipated change is that the regulations concerning safety and environmental impacts will probably change, and there may be changes to the mandate of the associated competent authorities. There will be increased competition between safety and sustainability imperatives. So often these go hand in hand, but occasionally there is a competition between the two, and this makes it necessary to acknowledge more explicitly than is traditionally done the risk-risk trade-offs between, for example, safety risks and environmental risks. So in this topic one, we are expecting, the SAFRA funders are expecting projects that concern safety assessment of new technologies, new industrial processes, new materials, new applications from both technological and methodological perspectives. A second point is the decision processes that can be used and the regulatory mechanisms for establishing the risk-risk trade-offs that I mentioned. So including the implications for safety regulators and for HSE specialists within the industry. And finally, case studies which illustrate innovative approaches to safety in the new economic and industrial environment. So I'm suggesting that I take questions right at the end of this to keep things fluid. Topic 2 concerns safety of advanced materials in energy conversion and storage applications. So we are talking in particular about nanomaterials and composites for energy production, for energy conversion, and for energy storage. So of course, at the moment there is a big development of batteries, but also other technologies like supercapacitors to help with electricity storage. So these materials can be used as catalysts, as anti-catalysts, as membranes, as electrolytes, and as electrodes. And the hope is that these new advanced materials will contribute to better energy density, to lower cost of these technologies, to lower environmental impact over their full life cycle. And the two particular challenges that we've identified that are linked to industrial safety are better understanding of the toxicological effects, including these new materials, nanostructured materials and composite materials, and a better characterization of the behavior of these new advanced materials in energy systems. So, for example, a big challenge is addressing the performance of battery management systems, which are very important to their safety, and managing the threat of potential thermal runaway or fires. So projects are expecting concerning these three items that we've identified. These are guidelines for risk assessment, improved testing, labeling and certification of these materials and their use in energy systems, and improvements in life cycle management, in particular in the final phases of the life, decommissioning and disposal, which are often problematic. And moving on to the third topic, this is very different. It concerns the evolving workspaces, the changes to the economic changes in some companies, and what we call the platform economy or the gig economy, which leads to platform mediated work. So this is work mediated by apps, typically by smartphone apps and by communication infrastructures. And it's also a relevant term which is used in the literature is algorithmic management. So where people are managed to a large extent by computer algorithms and less by humans directly. This has led over the past 5 or so years in particular to a big development of non-standard forms of work without employment. So people are working, but they don't necessarily have an employer in the classical sense because they are self-employed. And this, from an industrial safety perspective, is a big challenge because people working in this way lose a lot of the protections which have been built up over the past centuries in labor law. So all these obligations, for example, on working hours, on the right to workers to have employer-funded training, all the obligations which concern working conditions, which many OSH institutes in EU countries enforce, the obligations for employers to develop risk assessments for their employees, and all the accident compensation mechanisms which are put in place via insurance systems. All of these mechanisms, which have been developed to protect workers, not necessarily disappear, but become much less strong concerning the platform economy. Then there are some new threats which are specifically related to the platform mediated work. There is, for example, the stress due to the fact that workers are constantly being evaluated by their client employers. They are constantly being surveilled by their smartphones or by their computers to check for their productivity and to allocate work. They also have intrinsic job insecurity because they are being paid per task, and there is no guarantee of work over time. There are also effects which are documented in the literature of alienation due to digital intermediation, the fact that people don't work directly with other human beings. And there are limits which are inherent to the platform work on workers' ability to organize, for example, using in trade unions, which is also a historical way in which they've been able to defend their safety on the job. So this is a very interesting and new topic. I think there's been a lot of work on this topic in the past few years on the OSH impacts, and we are interested in this call in the impacts which are a bit more related to safety management and to industrial safety, even if there is some overlap with OSH, of course. So, for example, the effect of limits to on-the-job learning. So the fact that many people work and improve their skills, which allows them to work safely by working on the job in the workplace and by working with other people, what's called social learning. This is a bit reduced by many forms of platform work, so potentially there is an impact on safety. Another point is that these platforms inherently produce a lot of data about the tasks that are worked on by people, the geographic location of the people who do these tasks. So this surveillance obviously leads to a little bit of psychosocial stress for workers, but maybe there is an opportunity there to generate risk indicators about either physical risk or psychosocial risk, which could be used to improve safety in these systems. And finally, from a regulatory or legislative perspective, there are some dimensions of labor law and environmental protection legislation which are rendered inapplicable by these new evolutions, which I mentioned on the previous slide. Are there new mechanisms which can be invented by the regulators or the legislator to try to reduce these risks and to improve safety of the platform workers? I'm moving on now to the funding available. You have here on this map the different countries which have a funding organization participating. In green, we have countries where there is a funding organization which is able to participate in cash. That means that they are able to make grants to researchers within, for example, a research institute or a university. In blue, we have participating SAFRA funding organizations who are typically institutes who are able to provide a contribution in kind. That means they are able to fund typically researchers from their own institute, or for example, a PhD grant associated with a topic. So it's possible to mix within these SAFRA calls in-kind funding and in-cash funding. So you can have one organization in one country contributing in kind in a consortium with a partner who is being funded in cash. This year, it's worth noting that the organizations which are funding in kind only have funding available for research undertaken in their own country. This means that the country researchers from the countries marked in grey on this map typically will not be able to be funded in this call. They're able to participate in consortia, but on the basis of any own funding they have. And finally, the striped marking here on Finland means that there is some in-cash funding and some in-kind funding. There are 3 participating funding organizations from Finland. I'm going to reaching the end of my presentation here. Here's the timeline. We will be launching the call officially at the SAF RA Symposium in Rome, which is next month, 19th and 20th of May. There may be some small changes to the call text compared with what we have already published on the SAFRA website, the draft, which is already available. There may be 1 or 2 more research partner funding organizations, who are able to contribute, so that there would be a good improvement to the call. We don't expect that the topics will change during this in this time. As you can see, this is a 2-phase call. That means that we will be expecting partners to submit in September a pre-proposal, which is only a short 5-page document where they outline the general thrust of the proposal and the consortium that they expect to put in place. And then 3 months later, beginning of December, they will the applicants who are judged to be okay with respect to eligibility criteria and relevance for the funding partners will be asked to submit a full proposal. Then about 3 months later, end of February 2023, the proposals will have been assessed by evaluators and funding decisions will have been made by the funding organizations, which could lead projects to start, if contracts are signed quickly, around April 2023. Okay, that's about what I had to present to you very briefly this afternoon on the call. We are now willing to happy to take any questions you might have.
Yes, thank you very much, Eric, for the very detailed and clear presentation of the 3 topics, which are quite broad, but all focusing on safety, industrial safety. This is very important. This is a key perspective from SAFRA. It was very useful also that you remind about the funding mechanism and also the procedure to submit proposals. So now the floor is open for questions. So if you want to propose a question, please raise your hand. So I see Teresa Aurelia Perez who want to take the floor. Then activate your microphone and you can ask your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A short question. How does the consortium should look like? Is there a minimum requirement? How many countries should participate in the consortium?
Yeah, the consortia need to be only of size 2 to SAFRA, 2 countries.
And 2 participants.
So minimum. It can be 2 participants. This is the minimum. It can be more, but well, typically in SAFRA we don't fund very big projects like the integrated projects of the Commission. So typically there are 2 or 3 participating organizations in the consortia.
Thank you.
Any other question from the participant or any comments if you wish? Please raise your hand. Yes, Mikael Saarinen.
Yeah, hello, Eric from Finland.
Hi, Mikael.
Just a very practical question about the proposals. Is there some kind of a form already there so the applicant can fill it, because I couldn't find it?
No, that's not yet been published, but it will be very similar to previous years. It will be just a 5-page form with the standard aspects about the applicants and some information about what the objectives of the work is. We will publish this probably before the symposium next month. Okay, thanks. We will also, I should have mentioned this, we will also be publishing on the SAFRA website the evaluator guidelines. So this means the guidelines that are given to members of the evaluation panel who do the scientific and technical assessment of the projects, so that you know, as applicants, you know exactly what criteria they are using and how they are, how the instructions they have for their assessment. And you will have initially the pre-proposal form, and we will also be publishing the reporting form that we ask you to use for reporting to SAFRA at halfway through your project, so typically at 18 months, for example, or at 12 months, and then the final report that we ask you to supply. These are very simple forms, really. We try to run SAFRA calls with as low administrative overhead as possible to be focused on the research outputs.
Yeah, this is very important what you say, Eric, that the bureaucracy around the project preparation is very low compared to other funding program, and this is useful to know that. So the consortium are smaller, more agile, and the time to grant is also shorter compared to other funding programs. So this kind of agility is very interesting for researchers to complement any kind of research already funded at national level or in by institutions. So it is a way to mutualize the research investment throughout Europe, which is the overall objective of the ERANET when it has been created in 2012.
We also give you an opportunity by organizing a symposia to present your research to other researchers and people from industry or from expertise bodies in the field of industrial safety. So, for example, the symposium that we're organizing in Rome, we haven't actually organized a symposium in the last 2 years because of COVID, of course, but this is the type of event that we organize to help disseminate findings from the research and to give you an opportunity to meet other and network with other researchers.
Are there any other question or remark? Yes, please, Teresa again.
Thank you very much. Is it going to be in Rome in May, kind of a brokerage or matching event session where we can discuss? Okay.
Yes, it will be a scientific symposium in Rome on the 19 and 20, sorry, of May. We will have the symposium of SAFRA. There will be some presentation, scientific presentation, information about the project which are ongoing or which have been completed very recently. And finally, there will be this brokerage event so that anyone who has idea and is looking for skills or for other team to complement the consortium, they will be able to present ideas and to find partners.
Thank you very much. And how many participants are expected to take part in the event?
In the event, we may have some 50-60 participants on site and all other participants online. It will be organized as an hybrid event.
Okay, thank you.
And we will also be putting in place a web-based system for matchmaking, okay, so that organizations can publish a little bit about their research ideas and the skills that they are looking for. It's true that this is often we've seen a problem for researchers putting together a SAFRA call, since we have we have to mix and match with partners from a country where SAFRA funding is available, and researchers don't necessarily have researchers in those countries already in their network. So it's often very useful to have these events to try to find people who are not already in your existing network.
Thank you, because we would be needing it. We have an idea, and we would be needing this matching, yes.
Okay, great.
We will open the registration for the symposium very soon, so that people have time to organize themselves to participate either on site or online. And as I said, we will have about 10 slots to present project ideas and raise awareness of other researchers on the same topic and connect.
Thank you.
Any other comments or question? So it has been the first time that we have organized the promotion of the call this way, because we feel it's interesting, it's useful to inform the researcher about what will be published, so that they have time to prepare themselves. And I think it will increase the quality of the proposal, and also it enable for the funding organization to identify potential teams who will be funded by these organizations. So I think it's very useful.
I think we should just a point to add concerning the topics. Typically, we are you have seen that the 3 topics we are addressing are quite broad. This is done on purpose. We don't aim to be very restrictive in the topics. Any interesting idea, even if it's not explicitly listed in the bullet items in the call text, is potentially of interest. And we also have this pre-proposal phase, which aims to help you put together an idea without spending too much time developing a very thick proposal, to check whether a topic which maybe is not exactly in the topics of the call, which could be of interest.
So can we take the opportunity to have Paolo online so that you tell us a little bit about how you see the symposium in Rome in 1 month or 1.5 months from now? Paolo, if you can activate your microphone and say some few words to tease a little bit the participant to join for the symposium in Rome.
Well, yes, a symposium. I can promise that the symposium will be very interesting, because it's possible to see the results of a few recent projects terminated in this year, about security and safety, about innovative batteries, about a new model of organization of safety management system with a very, very interesting new approach. So also from scientific point of view, I think it could be a very, very interesting event, and we have also the brokerage event, so a lot of things in 2 days. I think it would be a good chance to meet each other after 2 years and more of web conference, web meetings, Teams, and so on, to have direct contact and speech in charter, and discuss the results of current projects, of all the projects, and to discuss the new projects.
Thank you very much, Paolo. Are there any further questions, comments from the participants? Otherwise, we will close this meeting, this webinar. It's clear for everyone. So if it is not clear, I think in the documents you find the email address. So contact@safira.eu. If you have any question coming to your mind after the end of this presentation made by Eric, don't hesitate to send an email. So we receive the email, and if it is an organizational aspect, we will take care of this. If it is about the content, Eric will answer. So we share the work to support this initiative, which is really important to connect the funding organization interested by industrial safety and try to have the best from the research investment made by each country on topics that we hope are of interest and useful for the future. Okay, so I don't see any hands raised. So thank you very much for your participation, and thank you, Eric, for giving the very detailed explanation. Thank you, Paolo, as chairman of SAFRA, and see you in Rome for most of you, I hope.
In Rome in May 19.
May 19 and 20. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.